Hey there, tubers. I am doing a review of my second CT5555 tractor. As some of you know that follow the channel, I had a 2020 5555 that I had just a ton of issues with, and Bobcat ended up buying that one back as long as I was willing to buy another one. So this one's a 2022. I got it back in August of 22. It didn't get much use this winter or last fall, mainly because we were in a drought, and I use these tractors for maintenance around the farm, mowing and miscellaneous things. So it didn't get used much, and up until about 2 weeks ago it only had 50 hours on it. So in the last 2 weeks I've put just under 100 hours on it, so it's sitting at about 150 hours right now. I wanted to do a 100-hour review, but I blew right past that, and our weather here lately has been rain, so I can't do a whole lot right now, so I thought I'd throw up a video. So we'll start at the front and work our way to the back. I do really like this Bobcat system. It's very versatile, and I highly recommend it to anybody that's considering it, whether it's this manufacturer or not, but this quick change is so nice. Now, as for the loader itself, I don't have really any issues with the loader other than the lift capacity, and this was a major deal with the first tractor I had. Is they claim that the lift capacity is 2,400 pounds. And the most I could ever lift was 1,800, and that wasn't to full height. So after we got this one in, we did the same tests on it, and it comes in exactly the same as the last one. The dealership even had a 5558, and we did the same test with it, and again, 1,800 pounds. So when I initially bought it, I wanted to be able to lift ton bales with it. It can't do it. So I'm just at the point that I realize that this thing is pretty much maxed out at 1,800 pounds, and I'm just going to live with it. But if lift capacity is very important to you, do not believe what they publish. And I've done videos on the lifting capacity of it. I've got fluid in the tires in the back, and I always have an implement on the back, and 1,800 is max for it. So that's a big disappointment, but I'm willing to live with it. From the loader to the front axle, one of the things I absolutely love about this thing is its turning radius. This thing turns super sharp, and it's just I love it. And come around here to the front, and I'll open the hood up. Well, one thing about the hood is you usually got to push down on it and push the lever up at the same time, and then you got your battery down there. I've had virtually no problems with this engine on this tractor or the last one, the DPF. I've had no issues with. One thing is it does use a little antifreeze, and my last tractor did, and this one does too. And I had filled that up about 30 to 40 hours ago, and you can see that it's down just a little bit. I don't know where it goes because I have the oil tested, and they don't find any fluid antifreeze in that. You know, it might push it out the overflow, and it doesn't really. This is just dust, so it's not leaking out the cap, but it goes somewhere, and it might be a non-factor, but it is something to kind of watch out for, because if you do go more than 50-60 hours, it'll drain that reservoir out. So it's going somewhere, but till it shows itself, I really don't know where it's going. But other than that, really no problems with the engine. The belt is too long from the factory, so it won't have much adjustment once you start hearing squealing. Then I'll put the hood down here. One of the last things on my old tractor was the gap between the hood and the window, and it was rubbing against the cab. This one is like most of them, where it's a long ways away, so I haven't had any problems there. Well, one thing about this is that they advertise LED lights, and the only LED lights you've got are these I think it's the low beams on the front here. Everything else is incandescent and halogen. So why they advertise LED lights and just give you two, I don't know, but just a advertising gimmick, I guess. So while we're still on this side of the tractor, there's your radio antenna, and if you're very far from radio stations, you'll only pick them up in one direction. I wish they had one on top of the cab or something like that, but if you are close to a radio station, it doesn't matter. But if you got one that's quite a ways away, it's going to be hit and miss with it. And while I'm right here, on my old tractor, the first breakdown I had on it was the tractor wouldn't start, and it ended up being a short inside this light pedestal here. I thought maybe it was a bulb, but the bulb was fine, and after some troubleshooting we finally figured out what it was. It had shorted internally somewhere, so they replaced it, and I never had the problem again. But same thing happened with this tractor. There's something shorted out in here, and instead of replacing it, I just said screw it and disconnected it. So the tractor will still run, but that isn't hooked up, and maybe one of these days I'll get the dealership to order me one. But just kind of goofy, and it was the same side on both tractors, so I don't know what would be causing it, but that was something to watch out for, because it'll pop the circuit breakers inside, and you will not be able to start the tractor. And while I'm right here, another thing that's kind of funny is that my first tractor came with Carlisle tires, and these are Galaxies, and there's not as much tread on these tires as the Carlisles came with, but these are wearing way better than the Carlisles. I still have nubbins on my front tires there, and it wasn't until last week or week before I tried to pull it in my garage to do a little maintenance, and I found out that these are quite a bit taller than the Carlisles. With the Carlisles, I was able to get the tractor into the garage, and it would just barely clear the top of the cab, but it would clear, and that was an 8-foot door. And when I went to back in, I thought, just about as I was getting to the door, I thought, well, I better get out and just double check that something isn't different. And sure enough, this was about 3 to 4 inches taller, and I'd have cracked the cab if I'd have kept going. And I wouldn't have thought that these were that much taller, but they are. But other than that, they're wearing great, and I got no complaints with them. So in the cab here, excuse the dust and stuff, but she's been working. I like the layout of the cab. I just like where all the controls are, and just kind of the way everything's laid out here. And the air conditioning and heating system is great. I wish they had just a little bit stronger blower than they do, because during the winter, when the windows start to fog up, it is really hard to get them to unfog, and that's just simply because there's not enough volume. But heater will run you out, and the air conditioner will freeze you out. But other than that, I mean, it's a simple cab, but it's laid out the way I like it. And while I'm in here, I'll tell you that I've got a little issue with the front end on this, and I don't know what it is. If you're trying to drive in a straight line, you know, you put small inputs in the steering wheel, and the tractor doesn't react to it. So, you know, it'll start drifting off one side or the other, and you'll just put a little correction in and nothing happens, and a little more correction and nothing happens, a little more correction, and then all of a sudden the tractor will jog over in the direction that you're turning the wheel. And I don't know whether that's a power steering issue or whether it's like a ball joint issues that are sticking or what, but the dealership told me, oh, it'll wear in and it'll be fine, but it hasn't worn in yet. So that's another thing that I'll be keeping an eye on with this. But I'm trying to maintain a straight line with it, so I don't really notice it. But when I do go down a lane or go out on the road, it's definitely noticeable. Oh, and on this tractor, it does give you a electrical port, and then they give you an extra blank one here. And I was gonna put in an additional charger just for my phone, and I've had a heck of a time finding one that is that size. So I don't know whether you're limited to just getting them from the dealership, or I could have cut this plastic out a little bigger and made one off of Amazon work, but I didn't want to do that. So if somebody's found one that fits that, just leave it in the comments below, because I'd like to put an extra one in here. Not that I use them a lot, but just for the heck of it. Now at the back of the tractor here, in my previous tractor, I didn't have this hydraulic top link, and with just the standard top link, I wasn't able to use this quick change that I've got, because it would be extended all the way out and it'd still be tipped in here. And as you can tell, or I hope you can tell, there's not a lot of room in here. I can get maybe 3 fingers in between each side, but if you get any slop in there where this, you know, moves from side to side, you could potentially damage these fender extensions. And as much as I like the looks of these fender extensions, I can't imagine them being cheap, and I'd hate to tear one of those off. And one thing to watch out for on them is this corner right here. This is sharp, and it's taken plenty of skin off of my arms when I'm trying to hook up or disconnect stuff. But other than that, it's pretty basic. You know, I've got the extensions on the lift arms, which I really enjoy. I do like the external lift arm cylinders, in case you ever had to work on that. And then the external handle for lifting or lowering the 3-point. That makes hooking stuff up just a piece of cake. And then while I'm back here, that reminds me, I had the one viewer ask me about my slow-moving vehicle triangle, and it wasn't long after he asked about it, it disappeared. As you can tell, it broke off right there, and it had quite a bit of vibration in it from the start, and you could hear it in the cab. It was kind of annoying, but it must have worked its way back and forth enough times that it just sheared right off. I wasn't able to find a part number on it, and I don't think I'm going to replace it at this point, because it added a couple more inches to the height of the tractor, and like I said, it vibrated. It vibrated on my old tractor, but that tractor had almost 500 hours on it when I got rid of it, and it was still on there, so I'm not sure what the difference was between this one and that one, but it didn't last near that long. But overall, you know, this tractor is much better than my last one. I do have a couple of issues with it. They're minor in my eyes. I am still getting a calibration light in the cab every once in a while. And on my previous tractor, I would have the dealership come out and they'd do a manual recalibration, and it seemed like every time they did that, it ran worse afterwards. So I'm living with it as is, and I'm hoping that the computer on the tractor would just eventually figure out where it wants to be on the transmission, and if it doesn't, then I'll eventually have the dealership look at it. I've got the 5-year 2,000-hour warranty with it, so as long as I keep it under 400 hours a year, I'll make it the full 5 years. But I figure for the first year or two, I'll live with it as it is, and then you know, if anything gets to a point that I just can't stand it, I will have the dealership look at it. But for now, I'm avoiding getting them involved unless I absolutely have to. So with that, you know, I do like the tractor. I think it's a good looking tractor. I like the way the cab's laid out. You know, just a few little issues with this one, and it's way better than my last one. And I'll just make videos as things come up, and hopefully I don't have to make too many videos. But at this point, it's a good tractor. You know, the lift capacity, if it was at the 2,400 pounds like it's supposed to be, I'd absolutely love this tractor. But trying to keep these videos short, so that's kind of it for now. And if you have any questions or comments, leave them below, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.